Welcome back to Spark Studios, where my goal is to help spark your ideas. Studies have shown rereading books more than one time helps to synthesize and recall information. Instead of providing book summaries, my goal is to discuss high-yield concepts from books you can implement into your own life. This video series is titled Learn How to Learn, and we are covering concepts related to the brain, human thinking, and overall learning processes. Reflect upon the information presented in this video and see how you can implement this into your own life to become a better student in whatever venture you are working towards. Have you ever struggled with a problem for hours, only to have the perfect solution pop into your head while you're in the shower? Or maybe you've been stuck on a homework problem, walked away feeling frustrated, and then suddenly knew the answer when you came back to it. What you experienced wasn't just luck. These are two aspects of the brain's thinking systems. These two modes of thinking were discussed in A Mind for Numbers, written by Barbara Oakley, and were described as the focused and diffuse modes of thinking. Her book mainly describes concepts to help others get better at math and science. However, these concepts are highly related to learning in general. By the end of this video, you'll understand the difference between the two modes of thinking to learn faster, solve problems more creatively, and overcome those frustrating mental blocks that often make people give up. Let's start with focused mode. This is probably what you think of when someone says concentrate. Picture a flashlight beam cutting through the darkness, illuminating exactly what you're pointing it at. That's your focused mode of thinking. When you're solving a math problem, memorizing vocabulary, or reading a textbook, your brain activates what scientists call the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that's responsible for intense concentration. Focused thinking is absolutely essential for learning new information and working through problems step by step. It's your brain's detail-oriented powerhouse, perfect for absorbing facts, practicing skills, and applying knowledge you already have. Research does show that this mode of thinking creates strong neural pathways that help you master specific techniques and understand complex concepts in depth. But here's where things get interesting, and where many students get stuck. Dr. Oakley explains that focus mode has a major weakness called the Einstellung effect. This German word essentially means mindset, and it describes what happens when your brain gets so locked into one way of thinking that it actually blocks you from seeing better solutions. Think of it like wearing tunnel vision goggles. You can see straight ahead perfectly, but you're missing everything else around you. If focus mode is more like a flashlight or a laser beam, your diffuse mode of thinking is like a sprinkler system. The diffuse mode of thinking spreads connections across your entire brain. This is what happens when you're walking, showering, daydreaming, or just letting your mind wander freely. While you think you're just relaxing, your brain is actually working incredibly hard in the background. Diffuse mode of thinking allows different areas of your brain to connect and, quote, return valuable insights, unquote, as Dr. Oakley states within her book. It's during this relaxed state that your brain makes those unexpected connections between ideas you learned separately, leading to those brilliant aha moments. Interestingly, research shows that diffuse thinking is when your brain steps back from the details and sees the big picture. It's your creativity powerhouse, helping you approach problems from completely new angles and find solutions that focused mode of thinking might entirely miss. Scientists believe this mode activates what's called the default mode network, a broad network of brain regions that become active when you're not focused on a specific task at hand. You can't use both modes at the same time, but switching between them is your secret to learning success. Dr. Oakley emphasizes that to learn about and be creative in math and science, we need to strengthen and use both the focus and diffuse modes. Think about famous inventors and artists who understood this instinctively. Thomas Edison had a fascinating technique. When he was stuck on an invention problem, he would sit in his chair with steel balls in his hands and start to doze off. As soon as he began falling asleep and his muscles relaxed, the balls would drop and hit the floor and wake him up, right at that perfect moment when his brain was switching between the focused and diffuse modes of thinking. Amazingly, he often woke up with the solution to his problem. Recent scientific research has actually proven that artists like this were onto something incredible. People who briefly entered that drowsy state between waking and sleeping were more likely to solve creativity problems than those who stayed fully awake. When I first read this made me question the format of modern schooling. How schedules and the flows of information are set up. Does this actually promote students to optimally switch between these two modes of thinking? This can relate to anything in life. With this new knowledge of thinking concepts, can you think of any ways to incorporate this into your own daily processes or habits? A common method which is actually popular online is the Pomodoro technique. The key is to take strategic breaks to allow your brain to switch between modes effectively. If you do not know the Pomodoro technique, it is a common timer setup that helps individuals remain focused without distractions for a set amount of time followed by a strict rest period. Common techniques discussed include individuals setting a timer for a 25-minute period to dive deep into a focused area of concentration. In this time frame, people focus on the task at hand and concentrate without distractions and multitasking. When the timer goes off, it is now time to take a 5-minute break. However, during this break, it is important to do things that activate your diffuse mode of thinking. It is recommended to take a walk, look out the window, do some light stretching, or even sit quietly and let your mind wander. After, let's say, 4 25-minute focus sessions, take a longer 15-30-minute break. This gives your diffuse mode even more time to work on connecting and consolidating ideas from what you already learned. There is some trial and error to this. However, I have used this personally to study, feel more focused without distractions, and get more work done in less time. You can visualize how this type of technique forces you to switch between the focused and diffuse modes of thinking. In conclusion, work with your brain instead of against it. When you feel stuck on a problem, instead of forcing yourself to stare at it for hours, try doing things that help you switch modes. Give your focused attention everything that you've got, then step back and let your diffuse mode take over. The most successful learners aren't necessarily the ones who can focus the longest. They're the ones who know when to focus and then when to let their minds wander. They understand that sometimes the best thing you could do for a difficult problem is to walk away from it, trusting that your brain will continue working on it in the background. Your challenge for this week is simple. Try the Pomodoro technique with something related to your life. Start with the classic timer setup of 25 minutes of focused sessions, followed by a 5-minute break to help your diffuse mode of thinking work. Pay attention to how it feels different from your usual routine. Notice when insights come to you during breaks or even the following day. You might be amazed at how much more effective you learn when you give both modes of your brain the chance to do what they do best. Thank you for listening to Spark Studios, where my goal is to help spark your ideas. For more thought leadership content like this, please subscribe.